To order, I'm Mike Flynn. I was last year's vice chair. Our chair from last year has retired. His term was up. So I'm opening the meeting at 7 o'clock. And then after we do the pledge, we're going to go into officers. So this is our first meeting of the year and I'll guide through until we get to that point. So let's rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, our first order of business is, it's our first meeting of the year. So we need to elect a chair and a vice chair and a secretary, and they're all one-year terms. If someone would leave, then it would require a special election to replace that person. So let's start out right away by, first we'll do one at a time. We'll elect the chair, and then after that, we'll go to the vice chair, and then after that, we'll go to the secretary, okay? So I will open it up for nominations for chair. Louis?
I would nominate Mike Flynn for chair.
Second.
And any other nominations? Is there any, yeah,
I move that we close nominations and we cast a unanimous ballot for Mike Flynn.
Second.
The motion is out of order because the chair has to ask for it 3 times before he can close it.
Okay, all right.
well,
He did too. He's got to do one.
and if anybody else want to nominate chair, we don't really need a second. If you nominate somebody, they are on. And being no other person that I see, I'll close the nomination. And then Mike Flynn gets it out of the only nomination. Okay? So I don't see a need for a vote. So the next order is vice chair. Any nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate Louis Ryman.
Second.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Last Nations and Louis, your vice chair.
Thank you, I think.
Thank you.
Secretary, any nominations for secretary? No. In this case, the director usually takes the recording for the secretary. I don't want to cut over anything and minor responsibility, but we'll take all the notes you need and then you can review that. I don't want that to hold you up thinking you're going to spend your whole time working on this. Am I correct on that, staff? And they're
is a
very good at helping
and-
you.
And you do take accurate meeting minutes.
So a nomination for secretary.
I'll nominate Lynn Carlson.
I nominate John Nicholson. I already was secretary.
Okay, I have Lynn nominated.
Yeah.
And then I have John nominated. Any other nominations? Any other nominations for secretary?
Okay. You can say you don't want it.
There could be a man in that.
Any other nominations?
Oh, yeah.
So Lynn, you would be up for vote first. Do you have any comments?
Clay.
I decline.
There you go. Thank you. And if there's no other nominations, which we covered, John, congratulations, you're secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, our next order of business is so I'm chair now, I went from vice chair to chair, is approval of our agenda. Any changes?
I'll move the approval.
I'll second it.
And there's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. As so
Janice
carried.
Hessler.
With all in favor. We need to adopt the rules, and you should have gotten a copy of our rules. They were right in the beginning. I think there's like 7 pages or 4 pages, I'm sorry.
The first thing after the new participants button.
Yeah, but we need to Okay, I'm out of order a little bit about. We can do the rules, but we also, do you want to do the rules now? Because we can get that out of the way. And they're basically the same as last time, only we updated the dates. And then we'll go back to the minutes from the last meeting.
Motion to approve the rule.
Rules of procedure. Is there,
I'll second it.
all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All in favor, no one opposed. Let's go back to number 5, the approval of the minutes from December 21st, 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second to approve the minutes? Arlie seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the minutes from December 21st are approved as stated. No meeting with the Board of Adjustments, right? Commissioner Ward, any comments on anything?
No, we approved the wine operation with no additional conditions or discussion. So they're ready to go. They were approved.
Anything else?
We're still searching for a planning director. And if anybody knows planning and environmental services, if anybody knows of anybody that's qualified or interested, please have them apply. It's an open position.
And we are missing one person on
Oh.
the commission. Any,
Yes.
can you give us any information on that?
Okay, we have one position to be filled. At the last board meeting, there was a discussion of not having enough information on one of the applicants, so we postponed it till our upcoming meeting so that we could gather some more information on one of the applicants.
Perhaps February then, huh?
Yes, we should have a full slate. Thank you.
And I'm going to move on to our petitions. Our first one is docket PC 01-18-2401. And this is to consider a petition of Brent Welch on behalf of Tree Huggers Cannabis Minnesota LLC and RRJ Holdings LLC, who are seeking a conditional use interim permit requiring the following: to allow retail trade of cannabis products in pursuit of Chapter 10.7.5.4.a of the Winona County Ordinance.
Good evening, everyone. As your chair stated, the request is for a retail use, in this case, a cannabis business. Brent Walsh on behalf of businesses.
I think, don't you need to state their name?
He's on,
He's staff.
Yep.
Plan.
he's there.
Yeah.
He's a staff, okay. I haven't seen him.
My name is Aaron, however.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, so the overall summary of this project, it would utilize existing infrastructure. This is a site that has had commercial activity on it for the good part of the last century. At time, it was a gas station. At a time, it was a car sales spot, and at a time, it was a marine sales business. They're not proposing any additional infrastructure, no new buildings, no new parking facilities. They're looking to reuse the existing infrastructure. The use would be for the retail sale of cannabis products. The applicant is currently a registered low milligram cannabis products business, and they would potentially seek future licenses under the state's new marijuana program. Zoning information, this is within the Community Development Zoning District. Purpose of that district is primarily to allow the continued use of existing uses. Also, it is within the Shoreland Overlay District, which extends 1,000 feet from the bank of the Mississippi River. Also, you'll see in that map there, the different colors illustrate different zoning districts. There are multiple zoning districts in this area. That's the way under which the application comes. Within the community development district, this is a listed conditional use. The specific verbiage of that use would be commercial uses, including the following, and then a retail trade. Within the shoreline district, the commercial uses or the conditional uses revert to the underlying zoning district. In this particular case, there are some that are called out as required conditional uses, but in this case, it would revert to the underlying community development district. Those would be the conditional uses that would also be available within the shoreline district. So retail trade, I wasn't exactly sure what retail trade was, so I had to look it up. We don't define it in ordinance. But here is a definition that comes from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's selling the product to the end user, essentially. Here's an aerial view of the location. You see in the lower center, you see the building in the turquoise with the yellow outlines. And then you're looking down at other mixed uses. You've got some commercial uses along the frontage road off the freeway there. And then as you move west into the valleys, there is some low density residential. Located right at the off-ramp of Interstate 90. The parcel is approximately 2 3/4 acres. The recent photo of the current infrastructure. Currently, it is a auto dealership. New owners, so the applicant in this case has already purchased this property, RRJ Holdings LLC. Again, there's a history of commercial activity on this property. Existing commercial infrastructure, parking lot, no new proposed development.
Yeah, right.
Permitting history. The initial uses on this location were pre-zoning. So the initial service station didn't go through an approval process with the county. Then in 1999, they were granted a CUP to change from the service station to the marine sales. In 2004, an expansion occurred and they built the addition on the front of the, at that point in time, marine sales business. And then in 2018, they converted to a mid-size, small to mid-sized, not a mid to large, but small to mid-sized independent pre-owned automotive sales dealership. And then recently, as part of the property transfer, the septic was upgraded due to a compliance inspection that's required at the county. Public comments. So the town has indicated support for this project. There are 5 written comments. So this has written before earlier in time. Since this time, there's 5 written comments that are in your packets related to the application. And additionally, I did receive 1 phone call in opposition.
It should have been 2.
Is there a way to mute that? I will come back, for their input.
I just want to ask everybody online if we can spell it through.
Yeah.
Say that louder, Lou.
If you're joining us online, if you could mute your line, there will be an opportunity to address the board later. Okay, recommendation. So as always, you should consider all materials and testimony before making findings that support your decision. Staff has provided analysis that serves as guidance for drafting findings for both you and the county attorney's office. The county attorney's office has drafted findings for your consideration. And should the committee recommend approval, the county attorney's office has also proposed conditions. Any questions?
Do you have any questions for Aaron? Commissioners?
Is the automotive dealership no longer there then?
As I understand, when I went down to view the site, It was still operating. In my conversation with them, they'll be moving to a location in Wisconsin, but they are perhaps renting the facility from the new owners currently. Thank you very much.
Now, for the petitioners, when anybody's that's on the petition or representing the petition, come up, state your name and address for a recording. And anybody for the petitioners, come on up and clarify you, again, your name, address, and tell us what you know.
Hello, my name is Dylan Beyer. I'm one of the co-owners of Tree Acres Cannabis, seeking the petition for the conditional use of the space. And what else did you need from me as well?
Well, anything you wanted to add?
Oh,
to
yeah.
the
So,
commission here to explain what you're.
Yeah,
trying to do.
we are a cannabis-based company that operates in both Wisconsin and Minnesota. We recently opened our second location in Caledonia, Minnesota, where we pride ourselves on education. I'm sure some of you are aware that Minnesota has passed the adult use recreational cannabis bill that will be opening up for licensing in 2025. It is our goal to offer public education. That's what we've been doing. We're a USDA certified hemp cultivation company in Wisconsin. We have the retail operations in Minnesota, as he had said, the low milligram hemp licensing that's required by the states. We, like I said, our goal is to provide quality education regarding cannabis and its use and its products. Everything that we do adheres to federal guidelines for the hemp side of things. And then we have legal representation through Minnesota that oversees all of our packaging, all of our legal requirements for the state of Minnesota, and any of the laws that are going to be applicable to the Office of Cannabis Management as that's set forth beginning, I believe, in 2025. So we're very well aware of all of the rules and regulations regarding the cannabis industry as it is applied to Minnesota. And we view ourselves as a community asset. We are a jobs creator. And again, our mission is to provide quality education in this space. It is something that is now adult use. Use is now legal in 42 states. I believe Minnesota will be the 43rd. There with medical or adult use recreation. So this is something that we've seen coming since about 2018 with the passing of the federal hemp farm bill. It's been really exciting. It's been neat to see Minnesota as it's navigated its low milligram hemp program and now moving forward in 2025 with the adult use bill. We're very transparent with all of our processes. You can search us on Google and stuff and read our reviews. Our demographic of shoppers generally is about 35 to 75, being a lot of our consumers and our customers that visit us and use our services look just like you guys here on the county board. So we're a very buttoned up organization that leads with that education, and we're looking for your guys' consideration in approving the conditional use for the space. So does anybody have any questions regarding? Yes,
Have a store in La Crosse?
correct.
How long has that been in?
So we have, there's a Tree Acres Co-op that's in downtown La Crosse that's been around since, it's our second building, about 2013. We have another location that's on the north side of La Crosse that has been around. We opened that in February of 2021, and our Caledonia, Minnesota location just opened up in November of 2023.
Just curious if you have any idea or estimate of how often the police need to be called for you to be able to conduct your business.
We've never had police at our facility other than providing police with we have state-of-the-art security surveillance. We've actually provided the La Crosse police with security footage that actually solved a crime that happened blocks away. A man was shot and killed, and we actually provided the camera footage from our outside of our facility to solve that to solve that crime. We work very well with our local authorities. We are inspected by the fire department, La Crosse Police Department, all of the legality things. We pride ourselves in being a very, like I said, button-up shop. We are not a vape store. We are not a smoke shop. We do not, if you read through all of the rules and regulations regarding the adult use in Minnesota, you cannot advertise or have packaging look like candy, cannot be marketed to children. All of our packaging is very opaque. It looks very medical. We work with some of Minnesota's best producers. We work with national companies that are able to operate on a national basis through their CBD and hemp programs. I've personally spoken in front of numerous county boards, Houston County, La Crosse County. I've done public speaking at the La Crosse Public Library. We have done dozens and dozens of expos in both Minnesota and Wisconsin regarding hemp and cannabis. Again, we really pride ourselves on the education aspect. We want people to be informed about responsible use, products, testing, dosage, all those things. Because what could potentially happen is you could get out-of-state operators that want to move in to the area. Brent is a Minnesota resident. What happens is you can get larger companies or people that you don't know as well, that don't have a community track record like we do, that could come in, operate in your state, that don't have the best intentions of public safety, education. I encourage you all to either look us up on Google, read our reviews from the people that are using our products, both the Minnesota store, our La Crosse stores. I've been involved in the hemp industry since 2018, since it went federal, and I love speaking in front of rooms like this to help educate you. This is something that has been coming for a while as more states do move to legalize the adult use. It's all about regulation and following guidelines, and that's something that I can proudly say that we've always done. And we have a great legal team that is aware of all the rules and regulations. They're the ones that have been helping us to make sure that we follow all the guidelines regarding the Minnesota adult use bill. And we're always phone call, email away for any questions and stuff. So, yes, sir.
So, all right, get done?
Yeah.
So a fair amount of your product is, you kind of explain it to everybody?
Yeah, so-
Is it mostly medical or a lot of it?
So Minnesota, we can't sell, we're not authorized to sell like the medical grade stuff. That is the medical cannabis program through Minnesota, and you can only get that at about 3 locations. Most of our products, first off, right now, you cannot sell what's called smokable flower. So you can't sell that right now in Minnesota. All of our products that we currently sell that we would be using at this location fall under the low milligram hemp program currently right now, until Minnesota offers up the licensing in 2025 for those, for the different permits that you can get in that industry. So you're talking about edibles. So, you know, a lot of our folks 35 to 75, they're either using like edible gummies, tincture oil that goes under your tongue. We also do topical creams. We still offer CBD oil that is non-psychoactive. That's the thing, like with hemp and marijuana, it's all cannabis. It's just that hemp is below 0.3% Delta-9 THC. That's the psychoactive component. So we can still sell that. That's federally legal now. I think there's only one state, Idaho, that doesn't allow cannabinoids. The psychoactive component is the Delta-9 THC, which was federally legalized in 2018. You can only have up to 0.3% Delta-9 THC in an edible, which means it does have some psychoactive effect, but it's not nearly as strong as maybe what you can get in a legal state. However, you know, we view this industry as sort of like the alcohol industry, where there's a lot of regulation, and first and foremost, there's a lot of education that's involved in it. People have been consuming and using cannabis for quite a long time. It traces all the way back to ancient China, and it's literally followed humans to every single continent. The days of prohibition, I think, are over, and now you're seeing states enact sensible cannabis reform, proper regulation. Again, child-proof. All of our stuff is child-proof containers. there's a lot of rules and regulations. If you have any concerns, I definitely recommend you to take a look at the adult use medical bill and all of the tight regulation that's involved in that bill. There's a lot you can't sell lollipops, you can't put cannabis in ice cream. There's very specific rules about packaging and labeling, and we are currently following all those guidelines, and all of the guidelines that will be coming in 2025. They're already in the bill. There might be some edits, but the bill is final, and they're just right now filling the Office of Cannabis Management. They're filling the positions. Then they have the final rulemaking policies that they'll go through top to bottom of the bill, and they'll have to basically fine tune any, security, what's required inside the building. There's a lot of things that still have to get ironed out, but the bill has moved forward. It's been signed by the governor. And we just want to make sure that we're giving that community education that of gentlemen like you might, have questions and stuff. You are like the ideal person that visits our store. No joke. And I encourage you to Google Tree Huggers and read all the reviews. We're very excited about, the evolution of the cannabis space. We understand your concerns. There are a lot, but Minnesota's bill is probably one of the most comprehensive bills that's been passed in the country, because hindsight's 2020. They can look at what other states have done and go, you know what, this didn't work out very well. This wasn't good. And so Minnesota's crafted a very comprehensive bill that has a lot of safety precautions in there that, we have to follow and we are going to follow. So does anybody have any other questions? Yes.
From what you've explained so far, you're basically not going to be open until 2025?
So we would be open, there obviously has to be the building is currently shifted, the car dealership. So, there's obviously some interior cosmetics that have to happen, but we can operate, we're licensed through the state as a low milligram hemp business. So we can sell products, specifically hemp edibles and beverages. The Minnesota law is you can put 10 milligrams of hemp-derived Delta-9 THC into a beverage that is 2 servings. With the edibles, there are specific guidelines. You can only put 5 milligrams of hemp-derived Delta-9 THC in 1 serving of an edible, whether it's a gummy or a chocolate, whatever it is. It's mostly gummies or capsules, and you can only put 10 of those into a package. So right now, we are legally operating under that program at our Minnesota store in Caledonia. Same thing in Wisconsin too. It's just Minnesota has more defined regulations on how much of that hemp-derived Delta-9 THC you can put in to an edible or a beverage. And you can't, right now, smokable flower, that's actually prohibited right now in Minnesota until the licensing opens up for retail, distribution, cultivation, all that. So
I'll take Marcia's. I don't want to cut you short.
yeah, absolutely.
You're going to hang around and answer other questions.
Absolutely.
Here.
Yeah.
But I want us to stick to the land use part, not so much the milligram stuff. and all
Absolutely,
that.
yeah.
Okay. If that-
Again, we love the education, so that's why we're
Marcia,
here.
What do you have?
Yeah. So you're very pro on the Minnesota bill. There's a lot of the public that is not in the
Sure.
bill. And the devil is in the rulemaking, and
Right.
and that's a difficult thing for community members because there's a lot of unknowns here.
Absolutely.
As you would admit. And as a zoning, you're right, this property is commercial and you can do business and all those things there. But I'm unclear if the zoning rules can be changed when the marijuana part, the higher elements are allowed by Minnesota law. And I don't think anybody knows yet because that's part of the rulemaking. Can they be larger offsets in setbacks? So I need education because there is a lot of unknown in the public and in local rule makers, what can and can't be restricted.
Sure.
I know in particular, I know your Caledonia location. You are very close to a public high school. And I don't know if that's something that can be or challenged or not. So again, maybe some education and then.
Sure.
So
We are outside the state guidelines for distance of a high school. I believe it's 1,000 feet, so.
but sometimes the way it goes is that locals could be more restrictive. Now, again, that's part of the rulemaking that we don't know what the governor and his group of rulemakers is going to.
The assistant county attorney does have a,
Alex's.
yeah.
And then the other thing, before I let Alex have, will there at some point in time be growing of plants there?
we're not applying for cultivation. It's for retail use only.
Retail use
Yep.
only? Okay, and I'll probably have some more, but thank you.
Absolutely.
Alex?
Alex?
Commissioner, thank you, everyone. I just wanted to point out that there is some statutory authority on this issue already. The bill passed what will become Minnesota Statute 342.13, which is the local control provision of the adult use cannabis bill. So it specifically actually prohibits what we can and can't do through zoning. It says a local unit of government, which includes counties, may not prohibit the possession, transportation, or use of cannabis flowers, cannabis products, lower potency, hemp edibles, or hemp-derived consumer products authorized under the chapter. It goes on to say that our authority is limited to adopting reasonable restrictions on the time, place, and manner of the operation of cannabis businesses. So largely, a lot of this is going to be regulated at the state level. The only things we can do per statute is the reasonable restrictions on the time, place, and manner. The statute goes on to say we could do things such as prohibiting the operation of cannabis businesses within 1,000 feet of a school or 500 feet of a daycare, a residential treatment facility, or an attraction within a public park that is regularly used by minors. So this is something that the county will have to adopt restrictions going forward, but it's not something where we could completely and totally ban the operation of these things if they're licensed by the state. All we can do is put some types of restrictions on hours or on advertising or things of that nature. It's not something where we could prohibit these businesses. It's something the state has decided to take away from us.
Right, thank you. Typical, the state.
Any other questions?
That's it. Oh, a question.
Yes.
Edibles, are these taxable? Minnesota, we don't tax food, but are they taxable?
10% tax, yes.
Okay, but most of that.
And the sales tax.
And the sales tax.
Yep, so I believe it's roughly about 17% is what we're
And the
currently
state of
paying right now.
Minnesota is collecting most of that. That goes
Correct.
mostly to the state of Minnesota. Okay, but it is taxable. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Public meeting now. Motion open.
I move that we open the public hearing for docket number 1.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Anybody opposed? Before I go to the open mic, and we do have at least one person online, we did receive, I think, 4 comments from the public, and they are on page 44 to 48, okay? So if you haven't looked at those, now would be a good time to review those. It was from 5 different individuals? Yeah. Yeah, now, does anybody wish to speak from the public here on this issue? If so, come up with your name and your address. I'm going to limit the time to around 2 minutes, and if we need more time, I'll bring it back. Right?
I'm Dan Bowman from 47192 Queens Cove Circle. Just live over the valley from where this possibly could happen. We live in a nice, quiet neighborhood. Pretty much Queens Cove Circle just is one road in, makes a loop around there, and the car dealership is down below us. We have low traffic volume there. We have a lot of younger families with kids in strollers that go around the road. They go down to the bike trail, which is across down by the railroad tracks. I do have safety and security issues with this. I'm thinking maybe I have safety and security issues. Sometimes these type of business can bring in maybe people of questionable character, and I don't need them driving around my neighborhood. I just don't like that idea at all. The reason they picked this location was because of the location. They're looking for business from Wisconsin, off the interstate, 2 miles from the Wisconsin border. They're in an area where they're under low visibility of law enforcement. Probably the sheriffs in Winona County are probably not going to enforce anything like that because they're not really doing anything wrong until they cross the border when they're taking the product back to Wisconsin. There are residential houses sitting in a little cove. There's houses all around it, overlooking what's going on down there. And I just totally disagree with the scenario. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Come on up, state your name and your address. Yeah, we'll hear all of you. I'm not going to leave anybody
Barb
out.
Bowman, Dan's wife. I live at 47192. I just wanted to piggyback a little bit. I know they're very well versed in what they're doing that is legal or not legal with that kind of thing. My main question or concerns are in the La Crosse area where their locations are. They're based in an area that is absolutely not residential. And the one in Caledonia is close to the school, but it also does not have families and people living right around it. And so my main concern is they're coming into a residential area. And I think maybe they have a lovely business, but I believe that it belongs in another area. Thank you.
Thank you. And anyone else? Come on up. State your name and address.
Joan Lawson, 47277 Queens Cove Circle, La Crescent, Minnesota, or Dresbach. And adding on to what Barb and Dan have just said, also my question was the retail. There are 3 businesses down there. One, however, is a warehouse that hardly ever gets anybody coming in and going out. The other is Bobcat that does some rental and sales, which is a very low traffic type of thing. And the part,
A destination
Yeah.
business, you're not gonna be
And
driving.
who are you?
Brad Lawson.
Okay. We're recording this.
Okay.
and
okay.
Try to straighten it out.
So basically, the traffic coming into a residential area with kids, and it's a very walkable neighborhood. We don't have sidewalks, so everybody's walking on the road. They're going to the bike trail. They're walking to the Dresbach Park, and it's very concerning. Also, I would like to state that we found out about it because we saw the minutes for our township meeting that's held monthly, where it suddenly was presented and voted on by the council people, the 3 people right away. We did get a notice then because we live close enough, but when you talk to some people, they weren't aware of it. Actually, we called the sheriff because just to find out how much they patrol the area, he was unaware of it. So I'm sure if everybody in our area, all 21 residents are against it. So when you say there's one in opposition, that is not the case. There are a lot of people in the city of Dresbach or the township of Dresbach also who are extremely concerned about it.
Just for clarity, I don't recall anybody saying there was just one in opposition.
Oh, I thought there was something.
It did on the.
That was somebody outside that I don't control.
Oh,
As I announced, I have 5 letters. So
okay,
that's
okay, okay.
definitely not true.
The word is getting out. Okay. And like I said, it could be a very nice business, but typically it's in a retail area, not in a residential area.
As a backup for what my wife was just explained, both of us, I more so in the wintertime, walk the Queens Cove Circle at least 4 times a day just for exercise. So I bump into a lot of neighbors and have had multiple discussions with almost every single neighbor. And I can assure you that all 21 people and that 21 landowners, residential spots in that valley are definitely vehemently, adamantly against having that at your doorstep. But you know, whether or not that makes it a possibility to stop it or not, that's another thing. But also, you know, I mean, And I probably could get educated too as well with it, but the gentleman from Tree Huggers, what he's explaining is everything pretty much so CBD and cannabis stuff that is legally being able to be sold in the La Crosse area and the Wisconsin area. They haven't adopted this, the cannabis recreational use stuff that Minnesota has. That's coming up now and we're under a moratorium and that will go into effect 25. Is that correct? It's going 25. So that's when things are going to step up. You're not going to be having just the gummies, just the CBD, just the hemp, the low grade stuff. Bingo. That's when you get into the more heavy duty smokable flowerish. Right? Correct. Yeah.
Well, direct your,
So,
talk to me. We'll cover that later,
I'm-
okay?
but I want to make sure I'm not making a false statement and I want to make sure that I'm
Okay.
not, that I'm at least speaking the truth. So that's when you're going to see a huge jump up in
Change.
what's able to be sold and then what the traffic is going to increase. And as one of our other neighbors had mentioned, are we getting the right people into that area? And pretty soon they're going to be touring into the residential stuff. So that's our concern.
Okay. Thank you. I gave you extra time because there's two of you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else wishing to speak, come on up. Again, state your name and address so we can get everything recorded.
My name is Nancy Goodland, and my address is 47136 Queens Cove Circle. In addition to the concerns that my neighbors have given you, I have concerns about federal law. Obviously, federal law supersedes state law. And federal law right now says that it's illegal to bring marijuana to another state. And as they check the IDs for sufficient age, and the person's ID says that they're from Iowa or Wisconsin, who is going to say, no, we won't sell to you? The other federal law that may be concerning is that federal law bars cannabis consumers from owning firearms. So who is going to check to see if the person buying marijuana owns a gun? Lots of sport hunters live in this area and in Iowa and in Wisconsin. We can't depend on the Winona County Sheriff's Department. Years ago, sheriff's deputy came to our township meeting and said, when you call for help, we may be in St. Charles. That's a 45-minute ride. So we have policing concerns too. Thank you.
Larry Goodland, 13647 Queens Cove Drive. One of the things that I'm concerned about is that it's been described as an industrial area. There are two industries. There's a warehouse. There's a Bobcat dealer. And of course, there's the building that the used car lot is currently occupying. It is essentially a private residence. People own their own properties. There is no other known business activity, commercial activity that I know of in the whole area. The area from the site of the used car lot to the top of the hill where the last house is less than 3/4 of a mile. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Otherwise, I'm going to go online. I got some people waiting in the bay. Staff, can you help me with whoever's wishing to speak that's online?
Pam Hartwell would like to speak.
Hartwell?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay.
Give us your address.
I am at 46984 Elmore Drive, which is the road that goes up past what is now the used car dealership, and have lived here for the last 10 years, but also spent my childhood in this home. I'm in my childhood home. I am also the only hemp farmer currently in Winona County, and I have been growing hemp at the end of this lovely road for the last couple of years under the Minnesota Hemp Program, and have had no, I think, questionable character issues or challenges, and I just wanted to come and speak in support of this business. I was also living in California as it legalized, and I was the mayor and a council member of a town with the longest running marijuana dispensary, medical marijuana dispensary, and it was right next to a ballpark, and we didn't have any problems. I think there's a lot of fear around this plant, this beautiful plant that has evolved with humans for thousands of years, and a lot of the fear is unfounded. And I'm just here to say I support this business coming into our community. I remember when it was a standard oil station, we had a lot of traffic. At that point, that was my childhood. We managed our way through that traffic. We managed our way to get to the park and get to the river and get to the bicycle path just fine. I don't recall anybody in my entire childhood having any issues, and it was a gas station, and I promise you a gas station is getting a lot more traffic than a cannabis store. So I've shopped at Tree Huggers. They seem to be a really great business, and I'm here to speak out in support as one of the neighbors in the community who is all for destigmatizing this plant in our lives. So thank you for the time.
Thank you. Anyone else online wishing to speak? Is there anyone else in the room wishing to speak?
There's one on the phone.
Where?
The one that says I in the blue dot.
Hi, yeah, I would like to speak if I get a moment. My name is Michael Bauercamper, and I live at 47155 Elmore Drive. I could literally throw a snowball and hit that parking lot. You didn't really do a good job showing that in the picture, that there are a lot of residential homes that are really right up next to that dealership. I know that I lived here for over 20 years. I lived here when it was a boat, when there was nothing there. I lived there when it was a boat dealership, and I've lived here since it's been shifted. But I also know that those businesses are closed on Sundays. They're not open as many hours as the Tree Huggers Co-op and those types of things too. So I have a lot of concerns about the traffic. I also have the same security concerns that were mentioned before. So I guess I'll go with what was mentioned before, but I have a lot of the same concerns that were mentioned before.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Is there anyone else wishing to speak? And then for the third and final time, is there anyone else wishing to speak? Sorry, I'm looking at the,
Yeah, I have to
Great.
ask, because I know I heard her earlier, and I know she was a real, Janice, are you out there? I think she muted her, but I don't know which. Janice Heschler, are you out there?
because I don't want to leave anybody out.
Yeah. She can't,
I don't see, unless she said phone number
yeah,
muted. Well, I guess for the fourth time, does anybody else wish to speak?
Hearing no response, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Hearing no one. Our public meeting is open. Now I'll open it up to the commissioners. Now, we heard a lot of things about legal. Mr. Tillman, I believe, is online up there if we need any of his advice. And the staff is here as well. And a petitioner, so where do you want to go from here? John?
Well, I think that everyone here understands that prohibition of marijuana, like the full strength stuff, is as much of a joke as prohibition of alcohol was. Any day of the week, I can obtain marijuana from somebody in New Hartford Township. I haven't used it in decades myself, but I don't see that there's any point in trying to prohibit it from other people. What I do want to say is about, some of the concerns about, well, what's it going to do to the neighborhood? I just don't see people doing anything more than getting off the interstate and getting on the interstate again. I don't think anyone's going to joyride around Queens Cove high on marijuana just because there's a store there selling gummies or later selling the full strength product. I don't think that there's going to be any interaction with people in the community at all. One of the community members said, it used to be a gas station. There was traffic from that. The staff analysis here says that the petitioners estimate traffic to be similar to what they experience at their La Crosse, Wisconsin location, an average of 12 to 16 customers per day in La Crosse. I don't think it's going to create a big traffic load in Dresbach if La Crosse is only getting 12 to 16 customers a day. Yeah, it will increase probably when the marijuana flowers are legal to buy. Right now, they're illegal to buy. Like I say, you can get them anywhere, Winona County, anywhere. My kids have given us gummies, and so they're already around. I'm too busy to use them. So I don't think that the concerns about the kind of people that we're going to see coming in to patronize the store are really very convincing. Even if quote unquote low-life people come in to buy product from the store, it's not like they're going to be camping out on people's lawns in the area. They already operate in La Crosse. They already operate in Caledonia. It's a legal business that wants to use a currently retail location. I just don't see that there's any basis to reject the petitioner's petition. And let's see, was there anything else I wanted to say? No, it's like firearms carry. There are a lot of people who are against handgun carrying, but it's permitted in Minnesota with restrictions. I have a permit. I never carry, but I've got a permit. It's legal. People don't like it. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people do like it. But the fact is, it's legal. And if it's legal, you have to have a pretty convincing reason to deny someone the opportunity to operate a business. That's all I have to say.
Any other comments? Harley?
I was on a trip this last summer out in Denver. A friend of mine lives out there. And I knew Minnesota has passed this law. And it's going to be in 25. And Colorado has passed it a couple of years ago. And me and my buddy went down there just for the heck of it to see what it was like. I was very impressed. Any one of us would have been in that store. People like us. were going in and out of that door. We went in, they had it set up very smart. You proved who you were with your identification. And I don't know what kind of rules Minnesota's got, but, anything illegal didn't get by down there. And I don't think it's gonna be that way in Minnesota where you're gonna get by. And like you said, John, quote unquote, low lifes. I don't think you're gonna see that in there. And I could see everybody's concern. I mean, if I was there, I would too. But I don't think there's anything to really get too excited about. I think it's gonna be, and Tree Huggers have got it set up. And as John said, they're only getting 12 or 15 customers a day. Not like they're gonna have to repave the blacktop every other year there. So, my concern is not much. I don't have a lot of concern about the business. I think they'll do very well. And do we have any way to stop it? I think it's a legal business. I see no concern there myself. That's my.
Marcia. Thanks, Arlen.
I understand the concerns that have been expressed here, and I represent that area, but as was said by legal counsel and by the Tree Huggers, most of these decisions have been taken out of local control. I think your beef is with the state legislators and the governor of great state of Minnesota that, in my opinion, pushed this through without really thinking it. A lot needs to be done with the rulemaking. And I know one of the young, she is a county commissioner in Olmsted County that got put on the rulemaking body. So she's handy. I saw her in December, but there's a lot of work to be done. She didn't have a lot to share at this point in time. And as Mr. Tillman, our county attorney, said, there is some restrictions. The one thing I do have to ask is what, Mr. Tillman, what is the classification of the veterans home? Is that, you listed some exemptions, because that veterans home is right up the street.
Commissioner, I'm not quite aware exactly what it's classified of, but the issue that we would run into here is that the statute says a local unit of government may prohibit the operation of a cannabis business within that 500 feet of a residential treatment facility. So we would have had to have already adopted that ordinance in order to use that exception. Currently, we don't have any ordinance on the book for restrictions. So that might be something to look into within this body sometime this session or this year. If the commission or the county board's interested in looking at any type of official ordinance controls for the prohibition of these establishments within certain distances from schools or treatment facilities. And then we'd have to actually get information from this veterans home if it qualifies as a residential treatment facility. I expect that it wouldn't, in my experience. Residential treatment facilities usually is for substance abuse recovery type things.
Sure. Okay, thank you. But to address some of the concerns, we do have a list of recommendations as far as conditions. And I think for the people to understand, our zoning allows a business in that area. I think Chuck Skemp, rest his soul, if he knew what was going on today, he probably would have never subdivided that off for commercial businesses. But it is what it is, and it is allowed. But there can be restrictions, and some of the restrictions and some of the notes and some of the letters addressed lighting, and we are considering exterior lighting shall not be illuminated, and I guess maybe, do we need to ask the petitioners?
Well, you can. We're on page 28 and 29 for those who are trying to follow.
I'm on 22 and 23 and 24.
I'm on the.
Oh.
If we get that far, that again.
Okay, but I know some of the
Which ones
concerns.
are you on?
I'm on page 23 and 24, the recommendations.
Yeah, 24 has the lighting.
Yeah, so I know there was a
That's on the
concern.
final.
A concern because it is predominantly a residential, and it's predominantly rural. But we do have hours of operation, which would be recommended 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Exterior signage shall not be illuminated earlier than 1 hour before opening nor later than 1 hour after closing, based on the approved hours of operation. So those were some things that are put in place that would help minimize the, the retailness of the operation. I don't know if there's any other, there is signage. I don't know if there's any plan to put any more signage along I-90, but that's controlled by, again, the state government that approves any additional, billboard types of signs. That's because it is a state and a federal highway system there. So they have control over that. And again, we use this caveat, and I know it's no consolation, but the owners of the property to which this conditional use permit is issued shall abide by applicable state and local regulations. But the young lady pointed out there are federal rules against some of this stuff, and how that will be applied, we don't know until the rulemaking is put in the books and put before the public. I hate to say it, we just don't know what will happen there. But we are, as a land use, trying to put some conditions that would make it less obtrusive to a residential neighborhood, other than what it's been. It's been a gas station, it's been a car lot, it's been other, business type operations.
Arlie, I'll get back to you. Is anybody else? And I'll go back to Arlie, Gene, and then Arlie, you're up to that.
Council, is if the state does put in things, are we going to make sure that the state's rules are enforced, or are we just, it seems to me that Tree Huggers is trying to get this approved before we know all of the stakes in the game. So that's my concern.
Right. So most of the regulatory licensing will be handled by the Office of Cannabis Management. They've taken that on as a state responsibility. There are some parts under the law that contemplate counties doing annual inspections, so there might be some shared responsibilities, but it'll primarily be a state thing. Now, currently under the law, it's been bifurcated. So right now, we're only operating under the low potency edibles, which are were legalized even last year, which is the up to 5 milligrams per serving. Companies are licensed under those currently and subject to the existing regulation. Then starting in 2025, they can companies can start to apply for the cannabis flower licenses, and then they'll have to go through that type of process, as well as there'll be inspections. I haven't fully delved into the statute. It's actually quite long, but I can tell you that it contemplates that it's mostly a state responsibility for enforcement of the regulations, but there are some aspects where we are called on as the county to do, or the municipality where one of these is operating, to do some type of an inspection.
Arlie.
My thought is that they're probably under more scrutiny and restrictions than a lot of other businesses that are going to be that would be there, like a bar or something, maybe close to a bar, but with the new state laws and that, they're going to be overlooked quite heavily, I'm sure. But they're enforced and do what they're supposed to.
And you have great faith in the state of Minnesota enforcing their own rules.
Well, not always.
Commissioners, John, go ahead.
Well, just to speak to Eugene's comments, they're already operating in Caledonia, so they're not trying to get ahead of anything that is not done. They're already operating under what's allowed today. So,
Yeah, I realize that.
Yeah. Okay.
But I've had a lot of experience in the state that Arlie just talked about, Colorado, and the statistics on what happened is totally opposite of what was advertised as the benefits of cannabis sales in the state of Colorado. And so I think, knowing Minnesota as a 70 some year resident, that we're going to be different than Colorado is wishful thinking. That's my comment.
I just don't want to point to the commission on page 15. They'll show you the registered cannabis businesses already, and you're counting, I think there's about 10. I could be off with 1 or 2. So this is not pioneering by any means, the first one.
Yeah, no.
And I don't mean to de-emphasize all the concerns that everybody has illustrated. Yeah, go ahead, Marcia.
I will say, I haven't been in your stores, but I have driven by your stores in La Crosse. And I will have to say that they are very attractive, well-maintained, properly lighted. I've seen your ads on TV. They are very professional and everything. So I think if we're having a business come into our community, I think, I hope, and time will only tell, is that you are doing it the right way. And it is an attractive, well-kept, maintained business. And again, if you're, the lay of the land is the residents are up here and the business is down here. So you got to keep the back door clean too, the back of a lot clean too. And I know sometimes with the car dealership, cars, you get old cars that don't run and you have repairs. So, I mean, again, but we're not requiring any additional landscaping or anything like that. But that's something that I would strongly encourage, that it be kept looking as, neat and clean as, as your operations in La Crosse and Caledonia.
And Eugene, Colorado did make a lot of mistakes with the kids and the packaging and how easy it was to get into and how the gummies look like candy, and they even named them like candy. So there has been some major advancements made since the first states legalized marijuana.
Yeah, I realize that. But I'm talking about the after effects. And I'm a dairy farmer. And in 2012, President Obama's wife, Michelle, passed a executive order in USDA prohibiting the sale of whole milk or consumption or use of whole milk in public schools. Since that time, the sale of milk, fluid milk products has declined nearly 50% in the United States of America. And currently, I am getting $4 a hundredweight less for my milk that's manufactured into cheese than the rest of them.
Gene, I understand your point, but let's go back to the petition.
Yeah, I realize.
We're drifting here. Lou?
I'll call for the vote.
And does anybody want to make a motion about findings of fact and recommendations? Because we're at the point of discussion if we're going to vote this up or are we going to vote it down? And the findings of fact that I have, again, we're in the, what was that, 29 and 8 that I was talking about? I'll find it. Yeah, it starts on 25 and then you got findings of fact 26.7. For 28 and 29, so it's in that part of your packet, which re-summarized what Marcia was talking about. So we can split up the findings of fact, or we can do them together.
I'll call the vote with the findings.
So if I hear you correctly, Louis, you want to vote on the findings of fact and the recommendations of this petition. And do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion before I take a vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Okay.
I'm gonna abstain at this point.
Okay, so I have one nay, one abstention.
I need some more research.
So that's 6 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstained. And this is to recommend this to go to the county board. And it will be heard at the county board. They make the final decision. And that'll be on February 13th at 6 PM. It's a Tuesday. Yeah,
Yes, I would just ask if any members of the public, the community, if you look over these conditions and if there's something else that makes sense to you, that would help you in your community, have this business there, please, because the county board has the criteria and can add conditions even after this. This is a recommendation. It's not a final approval.
yes, you can.
Where do we find this condition? It's in our planning document. If you go on the county website and go to the planning departments go to planning, or is it easily accessible, Eric? Is there a better way to find it?
The findings of fact?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we would have that.
Okay, even yet tonight, could you make copies? Could somebody make
There
copies?
was a master copy out front. If they need a different copy, I'd be glad to give them mine.
Okay.
And I've got 2
Well,
copies.
you know the neighborhood, so, yes.
Question.
Yeah.
Well, just so we get the minutes right.
Yes.
Who was the opposition?
Louis, right.
Marshall.
Abstain.
Yeah, abstain. I need to talk to Mr. Tillman a little bit more, so I understand some things.
And Louis made the motion and John seconded it. And I've got a copy if anybody needs it, if you're short.
Yeah.
I'd be glad to give that one because I have 2.
Yes.
Thank you.
One
Yeah.
other thing, too, sorry. Just to be clear that what the motion was that a motion to approve?
Yes.
To approve
With,
and findings of fact plus the conditions as stated in that copy that you have. Sorry, I didn't make that clear. If that was your intent, right, Lou? Yes, sir. Thank you. We're going to move on to docket PC 01-18-24-2, and that's with Ron and Kyle Mueller. And that's a request, a conditional use permit to allow a single-family dwelling on less than 40 acres in section 16 of Elba Township pursuant to chapter 10.4.6.36 of the Winona County Ordinance. And I think, Eric, you got this one, right? Right. Lou? Olivia. All right. Go ahead, Olivia. Yeah. Pause for a minute in case I went to the restroom. I'll give it 3 minutes. Otherwise, I put the hold it, I guess. I think it's important. We're down to 8 members that we have, even though we have a quorum. Well, whether they're here, we can wait. It'll be fine. We're going to make it work. When I get done, I'll try to get you out by midnight. Good move. We know, some of these move along quite straightforward.
You'd be right.
I never got into that part.
You know, I was in my 20s when I was using marijuana, and then I really prided myself on my memory because I'm like a history fanatic. And at some point I felt like, my memory is not as sharp as it used to be. That's when I stopped. It was probably 20 years.
You see these a little bit more.
And You never use
Yeah,
this.
can't say what else about it, yeah.
Side effect is that overusing of this. Every use of cannabis causes brain cancer. Overuse of alcohol gives you liver cancer. Gives you liver. I'm not disagreeing with you. Yeah, I know. That's good. Yeah. But they don't show that in medical
That one I was
research.
down in Colorado, that one down there.
Every use of cannabis
Have you ever
causes
been in the
brain
gym
cancer.
at senior high?
Yeah.
Probably quite that.
In like a proper like down.
They have smoked
Yeah, it was on the north, and I can't
Years a
think of the
day.
name of the town.
every day since I've known this,
Brain cancer.
starting at 78.
I could say don't put too much water.
Yes.
Yeah,
Bad things can all become overused, but
everything is
these
very
people are
good
like
thing.
We went in.
total examples. It's not a rule. It's like statistical. They're fine.
Yeah, I haven't seen study of these references.
Well, it's like people smoking ready to back. Some people don't get lung cancer either.
I knew that.
Not many. Not many.
Oh.
That's right, you're right. Part of the previous one year.
No.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it just seemed like
I always thought beer was bad.
I jumped on a good piece of commercial real
Let you
estate
know
there.
when you had enough. That's over. God damn that. We are hot trying to stop all that shit.
Yeah. Well, and I gotta throw it back.
It's like cherries on the
State of Minnesota and the federal. and-
black raspberries.
Throw it back, but it comes back.
Absolutely.
I really look at the reasons, commercial
Well, it
business.
makes some real original blackberry wine.
Wine, fill it up
Because
with.
it's been a business for as long as I've.
Let sit for something.
To find a good
Pour up,
piece
put
of
a
commercial
little more
real
in,
estate that's
soak out,
not
you'd extract a little more.
residential area
And
anyway.
then you add a whole bunch of other things.
I'm doing, house on less than 40 acres.
So when I'm doing this, probably about half.
Very, you know,
Part of,
You're drinking it in.
this part of it is this was
Getting into the word.
Right.
From the next year.
Yeah.
Like 20%.
Yeah.
because it really feel gardening.
Like improve, like quart, like, you know.
That's
like quart wine, yeah.
Yes, it does.
So
And they
I
have.
like a little glass of that at night, you know, that fruit that we grew that I know was clean.
Well, the vodka will disinfect it.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Okay, everybody's back. Go ahead, Olivia.
All right.
Otherwise,
It's adjusting, but
It isn't on.
I thought it was, but maybe I found. Is the light on? Tap on. My pacemaker could be that way. too. You thought what he said. Sorry. So smart. I don't have a heart, somebody said.
that's big.
Do you want me to bring that magnetic demagnetizer?
No, I
no wonder my phone isn't
would
working.
just stick my finger in a socket. Thank you for your comments on the last.
It's the room.
But-
Got it.
I don't need it, but I'm.
I was telling Louis, I was 28 the last time I used it.
It's working.
It's just.
Can you hear me?
They could
Yeah.
switch the rates.
Yes.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Go ahead.
All right, second petition of the night. It's been evaluated as a conditional use permit for a new dwelling on less than 40 acres in the Agriculture Resource Conservation Zoning District. It is co-petitioners. The parcel is currently owned by Ronald Mueller, and it would be split, and Kyle Mueller, who's the son of Ron, would be developing the home and new parcel. So an overview of the site, it's Elba Township, section 16. The parcel would be split, so it doesn't have a parcel ID number yet. It is located at the intersection of Trunk Highway 74 and County Road 39. In the bigger map, you can see it's just to the south of the city of Elba. So these are applicant-created site plans. The two on the top there, you could see the aerial as well as the distances from the center line of the roads. They'd be meeting both of those roadway setbacks. And then the bottom left here, you can see they actually had a surveyor go out and take a look because the right-of-way had changed in that area after some road work, and they would be outside of that right away. So we did get highway engineer comments that were included in our staff report. And they were concerned about the right of way in that area, but based on the survey that they had completed, they would be meeting all of those requirements. So staff created site plan, you can see there, the building site is hatched in that yellow rectangle. It is a flatter area of the property. And then on the bottom left, it is a high arc site probability. So there would be a survey required to be conducted by MVAC just to ensure that there aren't any resources on the site where they'd be planning on putting the new home.
Threw some initials out there. What, MD?
MVAC, Mississippi Valley Archaeology Center,
Oh, okay, the archaeology.
out of UW La Crosse.
Gotcha. You throw initials out there.
Yeah, sorry. Some of the site considerations, it is currently used for recreational purposes. They do have a camper down there now. The proposed parcel boundaries would reflect changes to the road right away, like you saw in that snippet of the survey. It would meet the minimum lot size. And then again, there would be a phase 1 survey required for that high archaeology probability. So some photos of the site while I was out there. This is looking up County Road 39. You can see in the larger picture that there's an existing access. So Highway Department's comments were that they would require a permit for the change of access, but they didn't have any concerns with that being used as a driveway. This is looking towards the intersection of Highway 74. You can see, like I said, it's a pretty flat area. The creek is on the other side of the road. And then I'm standing in the middle of the driveway looking towards it. This is looking northeast out past the driveway towards County Road 39. And then this would be looking at the actual building site. The stakes are a little bit hard to see, but they're circled in red on the larger photo. And this is looking the other direction. You can kind of see it as the bluff goes up. The house, the existing house on the parcel is up kind of where that sun bright spot is in the photo. So township acknowledgement, they did signify support of the request. The petitioners went to the December 7th meeting. So our recommendation, you should consider all materials and testimony before making findings that support your decision. Our analysis and draft findings do support granting the petition as a conditional use permit. And should you decide to approve the petition, we'd recommend 5 conditions that are outlined in the report. I'm available for questions, and the petitioner is online as well if you have any questions for them.
Any questions? Go ahead, Mark.
Question.
Yeah.
It would reference campground. It's not a permitted campground, is it? You're just saying there's a camper?
They use it for recreational purposes, yep.
So it wasn't a permitted campground or anything
No.
like that? No.
It's a
And-
private one.
Yep, they use it for personal recreational use, yep.
And you did say that the roadway is good and they will have to get their own septic. Are they going to share a well? Is that?
I don't know the answer to the well. They do have a septic designer that they're already working with that has gone out to the site and looked at soils and has identified 2, a primary and a secondary site that would work.
I can answer the well question if that's
yeah.
some of your concern. Yeah, we would get a new well that would be solely used for that property or that building.
Okay, all right. And is this flood prone? I can't picture the lay of the land right there, but
It's not in the floodplain. It is just outside of the shoreland. So it's far enough away that I don't, yeah.
got enough setback. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
They're gonna use the same driveway as they have now.
Correct, that same access, yeah. It's just not approved as a driveway through county highway at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? For No, I've got to ask the petitioners if they want to speak.
Right.
So.
Not too many times.
That was a test, by the way.
Okay.
Or you just wanted to see if you're.
You want to see if I was paying
No, the well was
attention.
flooded.
Anyway, I'm going to ask the petitioners if anybody wants to speak on behalf of your application. I understand you're online. Kyle, I see you.
Yep, I'm online. Thanks for taking time to consider this. I grew up in the house just above it, so we're just trying to get back down there. It's a really nice area, and thanks again for taking your time to consider this. I'm open for any questions if you guys have any.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Okay, any questions of the petitioner? Otherwise, Arlie, you're on.
You made me forget.
Motion to open the public meeting. And we've got a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed to the open meeting? Okay, our open meeting is right now. Anybody wishing to speak in this petition, come up to the mic. Or is there anybody online? Again, anyone wishing to speak on this petition? And for the third time, is there anybody wishing to speak on this petition?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
And Gene, you'll second that. All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, nay. All in favor? Okay, commissioners, any questions?
Motion to approve with the findings and the facts.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that before we vote? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, nay. Here's we're all in favor of the recommendations to recommend this. Findings of fact and conditions listed. And Kyle, if you're still on there, your next county board meeting will be Tuesday, February 13th at 6 o'clock.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you guys.
And we'll move on to our third. Oh, excuse me, I gotta find the other page here. So, all right, I got it now. Okay, we're gonna move on to PC 01182403. And this is petitioners Patrick Simonson and Brian and Morgan Priggy. And it's a request for conditional use to allow a single-family dwelling of less than 40 acres, continuous acres on a new parcel that is proposed to be 18 acres in size, located in section 28 of Fremont Township. The request is in pursuant of chapter 10.4.6.36 of the Winona County zoning ordinance. And Lou, I think you got this one. Go ahead, Lou.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This project location is situated in between St. Charles and Rutgers, as you can see on this map, in Fremont Township along County Road 29. That says County Road 25. I believe that's 29. Yeah, it's 29. County Road 29 in Fremont Township. You can see it's on the existing parent parcel is 80 acres and is split roughly in half by County Road 29. Existing dwelling is just on the east side of the road along Hemingway Creek. And the proposed 18-acre parcel is just to the west across the road. You can see on the site plan here, the 18-acre parcel would be outlined in blue here. Access from an existing field road at the south end of the property. And the proposed dwelling in a small, what is currently a pastured area on the parcel. The proposed house is would be located, a dwelling unit would be located within a pole shed. So the pole shed would be roughly approximately 112 feet by 60 feet. and that would make 6,720 square feet of shed space. And within that, 2,240 square feet approximately would be for dwelling square footage. The proposed dwelling site is located on high archaeological probability and would require a survey prior to a development certificate being issued. You can see on this map those areas outlined in the light red. Another map showing prime soils. You can see that the area that they've chosen is not located on prime soils. The soils are class 4 and class 6. There are class 2 and 3 soils on the remainder of the parcel, as you can see. But no additional cultivated land would be removed for this proposed dwelling. As I said, no cropland will be taken out of production. Building site not on class 1 to 3 soils. Existing field access will be used for the new driveway access. Highway department will need to review and issue a highway driveway access permit for that location, since they're switching from a field access to a residential driveway. So that will also have to be done prior to a development certificate being issued by the department. As far as density goes, for this 80-acre parcel, this would be the second dwelling. So it would maintain generally a 1 dwelling per 40 acres density. A number of photos here that I'll show you just to kind of situate you, give you a lay of the land. The red circle there indicates the area roughly of where the proposed dwelling would be located, and that would be behind that line of trees. We're looking at this point to the south and west from County Road 29. Another photo from the south end of the property looking to the north along the county road, showing the access point. You can kind of see where the driveway would travel. It'd go in about maybe 40 feet and then make a 90-degree towards the building site. And you can see where people have driven in the field to get over there in that photo. Again, the red circle indicates the location of the dwelling. That'd be behind the tree line there in that flat open area. We're looking just to the south along the county road at the access, and then to the neighbor's property to the south. And then again at the proposed building site from the access drive. Getting a little closer. You can kind of see the farm fields off to the left, agricultural landscape there. And then that is the building site where it'd be located in that old pasture space. Petitioner attended I believe that's incorrect. It's supposed to be the December 4th meeting of the Fremont Township Board. And the Fremont Township Board indicated that they do support the petition as presented at that time. That's all that I have for you. We do have, as always, recommend that you consider all the materials and testimony and make findings that support your decision. Staff analysis and draft findings do support granting the petition. And there are 4 conditions for your consideration if you wish to recommend approval. Do you have any questions for me, Jordan?
Would there need to be an easement or anything for the current owner to access the other portion of that property?
Yeah, that would be highly recommended that they get that. They wouldn't be required, but if they want to ensure access to the other part of the agricultural fields there, they should do that. The petitioner, the proposed owner of this property does have a relationship with the property owners. They're friends, so I'm sure at this point it's not an issue. But yes, I think that's a very good idea for them to get pinned down at this point. Again, we wouldn't require it. We'd require an easement if the access to the dwelling was crossing in the other the property owner's land to get there. But since it's not for access for the dwelling, we don't necessarily require it.
Okay.
But it's highly recommended.
I think the petitioner will probably speak on behalf, and I'm sure they'll probably clear that out. He's not assuming that.
Yeah.
So for clarification, your second condition says, shall obtain all applicable permits, including a driveway access permit. How is it different than easement?
Driveway access permit from the highway department is only for the access from the county road, so it generally is through their road right away. So it really doesn't pertain to private land or the easement that would then need to be created between the two property owners, just for the access through our county right away. And they look at things like line of sights, travel speeds, culverts. They'll be looking at that, the pitch of the driveway coming off of the road. I think they want it to slope away from the road before it comes back up. So there's a number of standards that they have. Anything else for me at this point?
Thanks, Lou.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So they're going to live in the shed.
It's a shed house, yeah.
So, and I don't have a problem with that. I think that's a good use of, but is there anything in our zoning ordinance that unique to that type of building system?
No, there isn't. So we don't have any specific standards for different housing types. We just look at them all as single family dwellings. They would need to, there is a state building code, but we don't administer that building code. So it's really on them to make sure that it's meeting those standards.
The one thing I guess I would say is, who is the volunteer fire and emergency response area? I would highly recommend, because if you're not familiar with the property, you might think it's just a shed. And if somebody's living in there, you might want to have a little more.
They will
responsibility.
have an identification. I believe that's Lewiston Fire Department right there.
I highly encourage, and the applicant will come on, is to
Yeah.
make contact with who is
And they
their
have to apply
provider.
for that.
Yeah. But I hate to have volunteers not knowing what they might find in a shed, you know?
Marcia, you know the Ebert's place, right? North of Nodine?
Oh, yes, yeah.
They sold off some land. I think the first parcel they sold off, someone built a pole
Bullshit.
construction, single family dwelling.
Yeah. And it's fine with me. I just, if we have some special rules, but I like the fire and ambulance to know people are living there and they need
Actually,
to.
in this area, there's several of those
Yes.
Yeah,
houses.
they've been quite popular.
Tax me appropriately.
Yeah. Some of them are, you're right though, some of them are really hard to tell that there is a dwelling inside of them. And some of them you can obviously tell that it's a dwelling, but yeah.
It's different if it's stuff and it's different if it's people's
Yeah.
lives. I will have to make a comment though. So in your conditions on or recommendations on 77, number 3, the petitioner shall comply with applicable federal, state, and local regulations. And the last application on page 28, it just says the owners of the property shall comply with applicable state and local laws. So before this is reprinted, I would like to put federal in the tree huggers application, because I think federal was brought up, but we didn't say federal in that one, and we're saying federal here.
I can go back and amend that. You can talk about it here, but we've already forwarded
I
that,
know.
Marcia.
And you're gonna have to hit that at the county board.
Yes, yeah.
Fair.
Seriously, we put it in a house and a
Oh,
shed.
yeah.
We did that on our- clerical
The-
error.
The federal law part in the cannabis one was omitted purposely because it would trigger a number of issues that we didn't want to address.
Have a discussion about that, Alec. Okay,
You take that up in the county
That's how I
board on
used to use them.
February 13th.
thank you.
Okay, I'd like the petitioners to come up and speak on behalf of their application if they're here. Go ahead, come up, state your name and address.
I'm Patrick Simonson. My address is 4993 Southwest Rochester, Minnesota. I guess to answer some questions earlier about like an easement, the current property owner owns the partial directly west of there, so he would have access from the next road over as far as that'd be concerned. I have contacted the highway department as far as a driveway, and they have inspected the location for the driveway, and basically you can't be approved for it unless you're the property owner, but they see nothing, no faults that would cause that not to happen, I guess. Pretty straightforward, I guess, kind of what he described.
Are you gonna put a basement inside the pole shed for that, for the house dwelling?
No, it will not have a basement.
Well, I would make one bit of advice. Tornadoes have gone through there in time, and you might want a place to have yourself secured for the big blow.
Storm
Shelter
cellar.
in case it happens. That's
I'll take
one
that
of the
into
things to
account.
take in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else of the petitioner? Thank you.
I've seen tornadoes go through there.
Anybody else wishing to speak about the petition that's
Travel to the Dam Valley.
applied? I didn't see the pretties here, so. All right.
I move that we open the public hearing for petition number 3.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. We're starting to get this rhythm going a little better now. It took us a while. Kind of a cold start here. Okay, anybody wishing to speak for or against the petition in front of us? Anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the mic. Okay, and for the third time, anyone wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the mic, state your case.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, nay. Okay, what's the wishes of the commission?
I would make a motion to recommend this for approval to the county board with the findings of fact as written in the conditions. as written.
In favor.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of recommending this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Hearing none, all in favor? And again, your next meeting, February 13th, 6 o'clock at county board, right? Thank you. We're moving on to, we're winding down here. 01-1824-04, our Wayne Beachy WB Farms. And it looks like, Eric, you got this one.
Yes, what is ultimately different than the other 3 you've seen is that this has been reviewed and evaluated and proposed as an interim use permit. Petition number 4 is to allow a home occupation with the inclusion of a new 10,000 square foot structure for a cabinet and woodworking business to be operated from the premise. The reference is chapter 10-4-620 of the ordinance, and it is in the agricultural district. The site plan for staff developed roughly shows the location of the new building that would have to be at least 100 feet from the center line of County Road 35 to meet the setback. I believe the acreage that's involved with WB or Wayne Beachy property is 80 acres. Currently has a hoop building, a large metal pole building, a mobile home, and several small outbuildings that are located on it. The majority of the acreage is in tillage. There's kind of a swath that shows roughly, I'd have to estimate that at probably about 3 to 5 acres. That is part of the yard and the building site. The rest is still being used for agricultural purposes. Applicant site plan showing that it would be located roughly, it's not to scale. They've designated an area that's west of the proposed building and just east of the driveway as the parking area. I got some photos that'll kind of give a better orientation of how that would be. Notes and talking with the applicants is that there'd be no plumbing in the building. They perhaps would run a hydrant for a water source for some things. Their main focus is fabricating cabinets, but they would also do some custom woodworking upon order. They propose one freestanding 48 by 48 or 4 by 4 sign that would be on-site advertising. Few photos. This is standing somewhat from the building site, looking to the north. The driveways to the left. The evergreen trees are on the other side on neighboring property as you're looking at County Road 35. Looking down the existing driveway. And again, they would be building off to the right of that or to the east. This is somewhat looking kind of to the southeast, showing that they do have some hoop buildings, some agricultural buildings, just that general view of kind of the acreage. View at the intersection of the driveway and County Road 35. This is looking back to the west towards St. Charles. Current address for the mobile home that's there. This is the view looking back the other way on the county road, looking to the east along County Road 35. Nearest neighbor is located to the north. And there's one photo of that. That would be the closest neighbor looking at the north. They have an older house. I don't believe it's occupied, but they do have a substantially large metal pole building that is on that premise. And the existing buildings on the Beachy site have a large metal pole building and a mobile home that's located there. It has been referenced that the occupant of the home would also be the operator of the business. We have a condition that is reflective of that, that the occupant of the home and the operator of the business must coincide with each other. That was the question. The petitioners can speak to that too. They're here tonight. They did take this application to Saratoga Township, and on December 14th, they indicated no comments signed by the chair of Saratoga regarding this. As the other applications stated, Planning Commission should consider the record, the staff report, the materials, the findings, and staff has prepared this as an IUP or interim use permit, with the rationale being that if the business is sold or something changes with the home situation, that would be significant of a change to warrant a reappearance here in front of the Planning Commission and County Board to look whether or not it's consistent with that chapter of the ordinance.
Can you explain yourself a little bit? Because
what that means is if you have a situation where they're renting out the mobile home to somebody, and then they're renting out the shop business to somebody else, and then you have on top of that, a different property owner, that's not consistent with this permit that we're considering tonight then. That would be the
so you
staff's
need
position.
another
We'd
permit.
We'd have to look at those changes in circumstances because the home occupation provision in the ag district with the home that's there and a business that we're considering is in addition or as an accessory use as a home occupation, that wouldn't be consistent then anymore. So that's the rationale.
So if they were to sell it to the whole property to someone and they were gonna operate a business and live in the house, that wouldn't be in the.
That'd still be
determination
consistent. I'd say that'd be, what do they call a key, where you're changing over, yeah, as long as all, it's not so much specified to the individuals, but the situation. If you got an owner of the property, owner of the home, owner of the business, it just changes, that would still be consistent with our zoning ordinance. And staff has recommended 5 conditions that's mentioned in the findings and the staff report. Any additional questions?
Question, how did the mobile home get there? Was that part of a conditional use?
No, that's one home. So that would have been permitted as a farm dwelling.
Okay,
Yep, because they have 80 acres and, it clearly meets the densities. and-
pardon me?
I know the property and I
Oh,
know the
okay.
gentleman.
I just wondered if it was one of those where it was
No.
farm help and they put the.
No,
Yeah.
it was, he lived
Home.
there, yeah.
Gotcha.
He sold the farm and went to Oklahoma.
Okay.
Anything else for Eric? Thanks, Eric.
Do we have a motion to open a public meeting?
No. No, Louis.
Okay.
No, we have to give the petitioner a chance to come up and speak
Okay,
if they
yeah,
wish. Do the petitioners wish to come up and comment on their application? And you don't have to if you don't want to.
Come on, you came all the way to town on a cold night. Aren't you gonna?
Everything right?
Yeah, so my name is Nathan Utzi. My address is, currently where our shop is at is 25510 County Road 30, Harmony, Minnesota. And so we were considering moving it to this location and one of us living there, I guess, is our request tonight.
All right, any other comments?
Not really.
Is this gonna be a retail operation? Will people be able to come there and look at things or is it pretty much?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, we probably have 3-4 customers a day.
Okay, so so the public can come and see your work and
Yeah.
make place orders?
Yeah, we're pretty much just custom, is the way we have it, but, there's days that nobody comes, there's days that there might be more,
Sure, okay.
Eugene.
This building that's pictured on page 103, what's the current use of that building?
It's a garage, it's about as close as that's what it's, kind of shop garage. Yeah.
And that's used by the present owner?
So, no, so right now it's rented out.
Oh, it's rented out.
Just for storage. Yeah, just
Okay.
storage.
So that really doesn't have anything to do with this permit proposal?
No, if this goes through, it'll probably be used as a garage, buggy shed, such as a garage.
Okay.
Or, dry storage or whatever.
Any other questions to the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Louis,
No motion to
open the public hearing.
open the public meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, nay, or, the public hearing is now open. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, Now's your time to come to the microphone. And for the third time, is there anyone wishing to speak for or against this petition? Please come to the microphone.
I move we close the public hearing for petition 4.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Yeah, Greg got the second. All in favor of closing, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay, and that's all in favor. Okay, any questions now from the commission?
I got a question. I just thought of it, so I apologize for being a little slow. Probably you'd all agree, but,
We'll just stay out of that one.
is the guy that's gonna run this, are you still gonna stay down where you are? Okay, I was just wondering.
Marcia.
Just a question from staff. So I'm looking at page 111, and that's got the conditions. There's 5 conditions. But I'm also looking at page 102, and, we always say they're held by any comments or anything. So we do it, it is a retail, so in a farm area. So on page 102, we've got hours of operation, we got parking, we got number of employees, the sign. Should those be listed in the conditions? We just say owner abide by all representation and commitments during the permitting process. So
Right. I think what was in the staff report is what the staff's understanding would be. I mean, it's your privilege to replicate them, but we do have a record now. It's on the application, it's in the staff report, and if there was concerns.
going back to the first application, I mean, we specifically said hours and lighting and everything. And here we're just kind of saying, well, it's whatever. I like to be consistent instead of just saying, well, they said this at the meeting, but then you're gonna have to go back and look at minutes and verbatim. Whereas if they are stated in the conditions, then it's just there in my
Want to
opinion.
put that as number 6 condition?
I would like to put number 6 and to condense I don't know if it's.
And what part of
one-
those do you want in number 6?
I think the hours of operation are important. And I think the sign, because I've gotten people hung up on signs before. So I think the sign, I'm not sure, proposed employees, is there really a restriction in any of our ordinance that says they can only have 2 people? Is there a problem if they?
There's permitted uses and then there's conditional uses. And
Right.
because the public is going to be enticed to come out to the site, it's a conditional or interim use.
Right.
And therefore it's up to the testimony, the application, because you can condition the number of employees. However, once you do condition it, say you condition it to 2, technically if they have a 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, see,
Then we're in violation, and then that's an amendment situation where technically they'd have to reappear for the planning commission.
okay, but now you've referenced 2. So are they held to 2 or? I mean, I don't want to restrict them if they need a half a dozen people. I mean, if these businesses go, gangbusters and they need more people, I don't want to hassle them to come and say, hey, now I got to have 5 employees, I want to eliminate hassle, but it was stated in the testimony, so it doesn't become a condition. I'm asking, I don't know,
Let's just list the hours in the sign like we did before.
but it's in the verbiage.
Why don't you just take it up to have 6 people without having?
Well, we could up it, yeah. We
Up
could.
it to up maximum.
Okay, maybe we get the county attorney on this one or whoever wants to speak.
I don't want to restrict them.
Yeah, so part of the interesting part here is our ordinance has definitions for the home occupation, and that kind of limits how we have to approach this. So for this to be permitted as a home occupation, the commercial aspect of the use has to be secondary to the primary use as a dwelling. And then the other issue is, I believe in the home occupation part of the ordinance, it kind of defines the limitations on employment. For example, family members of the petitioner who are working on the project, I think don't count. But then if you're distinguishing between the permitted use, the conditional use, there are limitations, because otherwise the issue would be, if they can scale up unlimitedly, then this is really a retail trade being allowed in the ARC when it was permitted as a home occupation. So it's supposed to be kind of a cottage industry. I think that's kind of the issue, the nuance we have to address with this. I'll see if I can pull the exact language from the ordinance.
Yeah.
So, Marcia, if I
Yeah.
hear you correctly, you want hours, you want the sign and.
I think hours and sign.
Thing was the employee issue.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to restrict them. I mean, but we need to follow our rules. And I guess I don't know the rules well enough.
Well, here again, if it's family, they don't count. If
Right.
they're employed, it's two.
It
And
does.
you got your meter out there doing that.
I think we just.
Now, do you want daylight savings time or do you want, because that might come up as an issue.
It might.
I think we should just up it to like Lutz's, just
Atomic clock.
up to
time.
5 employees. It would change that over.
Well, if is,
But again, it's a
Alex-
cottage industry,
yeah,
you know.
Alex
it's-
is trying
I
to,
think we have
whatever our.
to put it in
And
perspective.
we can, again, and I don't want to be restrictive, but I don't want people to be, I like to be consistent. So one business, I tell them they got so many hours, and then the next business, and it's not a business, it's a secondary home occupation. I
Home
guess I'm getting,
occupation.
yeah, I'm getting confused.
The wording here, proposed employees for the site would
Mhm.
entail up to 2. Sounds almost like they are limiting themselves
Yeah,
and because they're proposing.
sure.
And if you put it in the conditions, you're tying them up.
Locking it in.
Yeah.
Well, we can ask him how many you think he'll ever
Yeah.
have.
But this
Why don't we
abide
just
by
leave
all
the employees
representation.
out?
But Mr. Chair, I get hung up on this, abide by all representation and commitments. So this is in the verbiage in our report. So somebody at some point in time could say, hey,
But that's true of everything we do here.
I know.
Well, up at 5 and
Okay, well,
Well, it depends on the petitioner, what he
Right.
wants. to
And
do.
Mr.
This is-
Tillman, do you have a
this is
magic
his
number?
application.
Yes. Do you have a magic number for us that we can or can't go in a home occupation?
I'm still looking. I did see it the other day when I was reviewing this petition that there was some language about home occupations, but just, we have 300 pages of zoning ordinances. So I will find it.
I have it too, Alex. If, just looking at 9.12, that's the performance standards for home occupation. So mentioned, there's some that we can issue administratively based on what they're doing. And that's where we have a limitation as a permitted use in the ag district that home occupations employing not more than one member other than members of the household on premises. It means it's an administrative. So we're in an interim or a conditional use where there is no hard, fast limitation or cap that says it's limited to this. It's based on the use, the intensity, feedback from the neighborhood, the townships, because it is within our ability to condition that. And I think basically everything that you've heard, that's what you're tasked with, to see what is an appropriate number. You don't, our staff's opinion is you don't want to cap that so low, that's going to be an inherent problem for us if we do get concerns or complaints. That would be our
I like the
recommendation.
wording that it's proposed. And that gives you flexibility. It's a proposal. Whereas if you put it in conditions, then it's a automatic.
Yeah.
It's
well,
a guarantee.
Any good lawyer will argue.
Well, but we don't want to, I understand where you're coming from, but I also trying to make this a cottage thing, not get it too complicated. I'm just putting, yeah, John.
So, Marcia, you're putting in terms of conditions and representations. And this section here says other comments and notes. I don't know if you can equate those, but for example, it says no water or septic facilities are related. So they're not committing themselves to never having water or septic facilities on that property. They're just, it's a comment.
I guess my suggestion would be
There
to
was
just
different trains of
omit-
thought, previous administrations in our department. The temporary small business, which is right underneath that section, section 9, it talks about temporary small businesses shall not employ more than 12 full people. That was for situations where there might not necessarily be a home connection to it. And there were some concerns about what's a home occupation and what's not. This was created in the 90s for specific reasons that we've hardly used, because the key word is temporary small businesses. It's almost implying that it should be interim. And that's just real difficult to work with, to manage. So.
Thank you. I hope that clarified things, and I want to reemphasize it as an interim conditional use. So there is a finance.
You started an outhouse down in PC County.
Well, I started out with that in Saratoga.
Okay, any other, no, getting back to Marcia now. I was trying to outline where we're going. You want hours still, or do you want to leave it in?
So I hate to belabor this, but number 4, we're saying that they have to comply with advertising and off-street parking. But then we're kind of saying, well, it's just kind of a home occupation. So would hours, and again, to be consistent, would hours and that fall into that same category?
Well, I think the sign falls into that category.
Yeah, a sign.
Now,
'cause
the
we-
hours, it depends on the noise, but again, when they're working 5 o'clock, I'm going back to their proposed, are we gonna sit there with a stopwatch and
No,
say
we're-
it's 5 after 5?
No.
What
we're
happens
not.
if they get a rush hour and they gotta work to 8 o'clock and the sun don't set till 9:30?
I don't have a problem with that, but I've got other people in the neighborhood that
But we're talking-
might, and I'm trying to protect.
Not
the
in that
business.
neighborhood where they're at with
No, and
the.
it's a cottage industry
I'm trying
too, I
to
want to
protect the
emphasize.
applicant to avoid hassles.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be consistent with our other applications is what I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
so people know where we're at.
And I'm doing the opposite. I'm trying to protect them from the restrictions.
But we put restrictions on a lot of things, and then here it seems like,
But how many cottage industries have we put a lot of restrictions on?
Yeah, this is interim
Yeah, it's
permit.
not the
This is
same as the
different than
first
other ones.
application.
That's a commercial.
Maybe we don't have to be consistent
I mean,
because
they go make a lot of.
the situation isn't consistent, you know, from one to the other.
but I guess I've been schooled that zoning and should be consistent. So
Well,
whatever the wishes of the board, I can play with it at the county board level if need be and talk to staff. And again, I want the business to happen and I
Okay.
want them to be successful.
yeah.
I don't think we have to worry.
Fine with me. I like to sleep too.
Oh, okay.
I just want to make sure, have we represented you properly back there, petitioner?
Lighting or what is it?
No, no,
That's
no.
a-
no.
That's
Average
Size.
lighting
That's
sign.
that 48 by 48 or 4 foot by 4 foot sign. No, no, no.
No,
And
no.
to me, it's,
It's just, we have rules, and so we just
But
need
to
to
me, it's
equally
covered in
apply the
photo.
rules.
If it gets too bad, you can put it on the side of the semi like some people did and you have it
Yeah.
about 25 by 30 and I don't care.
To share with you, Highway 43, we had a small
Yeah.
meat processing family farm. They put a sign out in the middle of the field. MinDOT came along and hassled them about that sign out in the middle of a cow pasture field that went along 43. So I mean, I've got a history with some of this
well, that's a
stuff.
state regulation and they're doing it because they don't want you to be inattentive driving, okay? So it's a safety.
But it was,
thing in their mind.
it was.
They hassled them, but
But
did
if
they
they turned
force them
around,
to
they would have
remove it?
painted it on a semi trailer and pulled it out there. There ain't a thing they
Forced them
could
to
have did.
remove it.
But that's not in our jurisdiction.
But again, I have some history with some of this stuff from other,
Well, okay,
Yeah.
let's get back to
Whatever-
the petition.
whatever the board wants,
Move on.
whatever the group.
Move
wants to
on.
do.
Move on.
Bill,
Motion to approve with the declines. and
with
conditions and
the
everything, yeah, findings.
second, and that's the stated conditions as written by the staff, correct?
The 5. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
On page 111?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a motion to approve, correct?
I'll second it.
Yeah, Lynn
All
already
right,
beat you.
all right, fine.
So unless there's any more discussion, otherwise, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, nay.
I'm going to refrain because I think I need to do a little more homework with my county.
All right,
attorney.
that's good.
That's my problem.
So your next destination is February 13th at 6 o'clock in front of the county commissioners down here. All right, so that's the next date to get the final. We only recommend, so we'll go from there. Thank you. Whew, times are ticking. I'm getting older here.
Tells him to look at it. He would take the position.
No, I don't know, whatever, Josh, that's his business. No, unless there's further discussion, I'll take a motion to adjourn. All right, we are adjourned, whatever time it is, 9:08, I guess.
The other three didn't take his first.